trying to be really vague there, but
So let me get this straight. So if you have a summary, you're not supposed to have an objective, or
yeah. So the main difference between a summary and objective is a summary sort of outlines your skills that you have to offer. An objective, we usually have a sentence at the end that says seeking a full-time internship this summer, something like that. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So, and usually you kind of want to go towards summary because that sentence in the objective is sort of
I
like
mean,
you
it's
want to.
pretty obvious. You can do it on a
Yeah,
resume.
yeah. So, good question.
All right, so now we're going to get into more specific elements of your resume. So the first thing a hiring manager is going to read on your resume is your name. So you want to make your name the biggest thing on your resume. You also want to follow that with contact information. So when they decide that you are an excellent candidate, they can contact you. So you should put your address, your phone number, your email address, and something I learned very recently is to include your LinkedIn URL. If you don't already have a LinkedIn, I would highly encourage you to get one. LinkedIn, for those of you who don't know, is a professional networking site. So you connect with people you've worked with in the past and build that network that can help you get a job in the future. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
We have a question over there.
I've heard somewhere that including your address, especially for like applying for an out-of-state job, might
Yeah.
not be the most ideal thing. Since they could like, I guess I see that they might have to like relocate you or
Yeah.
housing and stuff.
That's a good point. I've used it on a resume for an out-of-state internship search, and that did seem to be an issue with them, but I can see where that could be an issue with some companies. So do y'all have anything to add to that?
Usually your cover letter is a good place to say that you're going to be relocating to whatever this new area is that you're applying to, so that it's kind of like you're changing the discussion to say, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be in, San Francisco, or relocating to San Francisco after graduation, and I'm looking for opportunities around the area. Because either way, if you're applying to somewhere across the country, you're going to have to find a flight and get there at some point, so they're going to find out that you're from another part of the country anyway, so
Thank you.
use that cover letter as your place to talk about it.
Yeah.
Would you recommend a permanent address or a current address?
I would say, well, some people put both. So like, if you're from Charlotte, but we're here at school in Raleigh, but like maybe you're applying for a school in Raleigh or Charlotte, you can put both, so that they know like, okay, obviously you live here, like you're in a school year, but you might like be living at home, like during the duration of the internship. But then you can also, if you just wanted to pick either or, you could put the address of the one, wherever the location is that you're trying to stay.
What if it's neither?
Then I would say personally the permanent address, because that's probably where like if they needed to send information like over the summer, that's probably where it would go. Especially if you like live in a dorm and like change locations for the following year, so permanent is probably much safer.
Any other questions? All right.
Just to go off of the last thing William said about LinkedIn, there's going to be a launch in 2 weeks about LinkedIn, and it's just to put a plug in there to get a LinkedIn. Like William said, you can put it, it's like a giant resume, and but something you can add to it that most people don't know about is media. So maybe if you did a research project and you made a research post of that, you can put that on your LinkedIn, and employers can see that. Just about every company's HR staff are going to have LinkedIn, so they can see that type of stuff. So that's something I would definitely create as soon as possible, and then in 2 weeks you can come back and learn how to make it stronger.
And you can also go to the Career Center and have your LinkedIn critiqued.
All right, so we talked a little bit about how, like which sections you put in your resume and how you organize those, but how do you pick which ones you put on there? And so here are some different options you can have. You definitely want a professional summary as to what you have to offer this employer, your education, so you've gone to NC State, and then you definitely want relevant experience for other experience. And so the difference between those two is that relevant experience is usually what applies to that job description. So let's say I'm a statistics major and I was applying for a statistical job. I would put things like how I was a research assistant in the statistics department or an internship at a company where I used a lot of statistics. And then under other experience, I could talk about how I worked at the Career Center and how I did a recycle job last year. So those are things I would put under other experience where you still have skills to offer, but they're two different ones because one applies directly to that technical part of the job and one doesn't. Other things are projects that you've done, achievements and interests. I've seen some people put things like hobbies on there. Leadership and service is a big one, so showing that you have a heart for others and that you know how to lead a team will be big. And then the one that's bolded is skills. And so something that I've learned recently from people that are going through interviews for full-time jobs right now are that employers really want to know what skills you have to offer. I know this is true for the more technical majors. I'm not sure if it's the same for the non-technical majors, but they'll look for things like programming languages. I think I'm speaking more towards maybe engineers and computer science people, but they want to see what languages you can program in and things like that.
How far back can you go for leadership and service? Like, if you were a volunteer during high school and you still technically are a volunteer but haven't come to college, you have that on there.
So you haven't volunteered there since high school?
Yeah, so like I volunteer at the habitat and like the animal shelters and stuff.
Yeah.
And I have that on there, even if I haven't been back and stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wouldn't put it on there if I were you. I think if you started it in high school and you're still doing it up to this day, I would put it on there and maybe show how long you've been doing it because that shows commitment. But if it was something that you did in high school that you don't do anymore, because you want to ask yourself how much interest is the employer going to have in this. So does that make sense? Yeah. That's a good question.
And it also depends on how long you've been in college. So if you've been in there in your junior or senior, college shy away from it a little bit. But if you're a freshman or a sophomore, I would say so because it's something recent you've done and it shows what kind of person you are.
I think it's the same rule of thumb like we were mentioning earlier about
Right.
like based off what level you are in college, like when you should start dropping off the stuff in high school. Unless it was like a position like for Habitat for
Yeah.
Humanity to show that you like have volunteered there in the past or something like
Unless
that.
it's like really significant.
Yeah, so if it's something significant, then like definitely include it, but if not, it's not really relevant, like, especially if you're like a senior or something, you might wanna keep it off the resume.
Is it attached like relevant and other experiences under work experience?
Not necessarily. It depends on what kind of experience you have, I think. Trying to think, for something I applied for, I applied for an RE abroad. So under relevant experience, I put research I've been doing here at NC State, but and then under other experience, I put a co-op because that's less based on the RE isn't going to care as much about my co-op as they're going to care about like the research I've done at State. So I guess it depends on what you've done, essentially. Do you guys want to?
I think it's like we were saying, like, you wanna include the things on your resume that are the most important to the job you're applying for. So if you want to put all your experience there together that you've done, you can, but definitely making sure that the stuff that's most important is at the top, and if it starts to take up a lot of space or it's gonna go past, the 1-page limit, then whatever's not most relevant, then that's what needs to come off. But definitely just focus on the things that are gonna give you the most likelihood of getting the job. If that makes sense. Is there another question? Yes.
Yeah, it's just about the experience. So, just to make sure I'm clear, so you put all the experience in one thing, because like I saw relevant in others, so you're just putting your relevant first and then like not so relevant stuff later, or?
When you're organizing, yeah, I would put relevant towards the top. Another thing, if it's a job that it doesn't deal a lot with your technical background, that's where I would lump it all under experience. So if it was a position that didn't have much to do with my major, that's where I might do that. But then, yeah, you don't even have to put other experience if you just want to be relevant. But yeah, you always want to put relevant. The important stuff goes towards the top. Is that what you were asking? Or did I? Okay.
Yeah.
You have one, activity or leadership opportunity or whatever, where you have, like multiple positions that you held underneath it, or different involvements within that, organization. Would you lump that all under that one organization, even if they fell into different categories?
I would say it would depend on other work you've done. If you have more things to show, I would lump it. If you've put a lot of time into it and you've done a lot of stuff in that position, I would say separate it. So it depends on the job you're applying for, what you've done in that position, in those positions, as well as things unrelated to that activity that you might want to include on your resume. It's kind of a vague answer, but it really does just depend.
So these are amazing questions y'all are asking, but if we can, we'll probably save some more questions towards the end, so we can get through some more of the content of the presentation. Those are really good questions, so thank y'all for asking them.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is just kind of like a general outline of a resume, kind of like what we were talking about, your name and contact information up at the front, or on top, and kind of including what we said, the address, where they can reach you, and then if you have a LinkedIn, include that URL at the top as well. And then, like we said, you want to list the most important things first. So like education, obviously if you're applying for a job, they're going to want to see where you go to school and like what your major is and things like that. And then you want to get into your experience. So if you have something relevant to the position that you're applying for, you definitely want to put that first. And then someone mentioned volunteering work, so then that's when you can put that. And then skills. I've seen sometimes skills go like above experience or higher up. I think it all depends on the type of job you're applying for. So like we were mentioning, with some more like technical job, you might want like your like programming languages or something to be further up at the top because that's more relevant to the job that you're applying for. But if it's something like more simple like Microsoft Office suite or something,